I don't think Pimblett takes this fight. I just don't think he takes it. Drew Dober is really come, he's grown in the UFC. When he came into the UFC, he was lacking in some areas and stuff, and man, he has just made himself into a durable. He's always had heavy power, good leg kicks and everything. He's got big legs on him and stuff, and he was always, you looked at the weight classes he was trying to fight in. He was trying to drop too much weight at times. And now at lightweight, he has really come into his own. His last fight against Bobby Green says everything, because he's getting pieced up by Bobby Green, and he's in the corner. They told him, hey, you cannot allow this guy to control the distance. You've got to crush that space. And he went out and did exactly what he was supposed to do, which means you're going to get hit, which means you're putting yourself into the danger zone, and he can put himself there. He can take a shot. He's got a freaking granite chin, and he's got power in those hands. So I look at this, and Patty, for the most part, does well with guys that are trying to grapple with him, and he's better in the stand-up. He ain't going to be better in the stand-up in this fight. He doesn't have, no matter what people think as far as power, he doesn't have the same power as Dober. And Dober, with his experience stuff, I'll take Drew Dober all day long over Patty Pimblett in that fight. I don't think Patty takes it.
I think it's a fantastic fight. I mean, in terms of level of step-ups of competition, I think the Drew Dober fight would be perfect for Patty Pimblett. I am a little concerned because it is a dangerous fight for Patty Pimblett. If I'm going to say there was a jump up in competition, but if I compare him to Conor, this is about the around the same time that Conor ended up fighting, I believe, like Max or Dustin. It was around that same time. So I think this is a good step up in competition for him. I don't think that Patty is where Conor was in terms of the matchups on the feet. Drew Dober on the feet with the takedown defense is good. I think he gives Patty a really hard time, and I think potentially has a really good chance of beating him. And what we just saw in his last fight, in Patty's last fight, he struggles with guys that are super aggressive. And Drew Dober is very aggressive. He'll take a shot to give a shot. And he's a winner, man. He finds ways to grind out. He finds ways to get in your face, make you feel uncomfortable. And for some reason, Patty Pimblett right now I believe that he starts to slow down a little bit as the fight goes on because he doesn't take care of his body between fights. He puts on so much weight. His face gets so fat. His body gets so big. And he just spends his whole camp losing weight. Look, let me give you guys an example. May he rest in peace, but, Anthony Johnson. I used to train Anthony, from in the beginning of his career. He would spend his whole fight camps cutting weight. That we would hit mitts just with plastics on, like pretty much from like 4 to 5 weeks out, for him to start getting his weight down. Like, I don't know if that's where Patty's at, but I mean, everyone's seen the videos of him between fights. He's huge. You don't get an opportunity to get better because if you're not in shape before your camp starts, your whole camp is you getting your body in shape, which means that if you're tired, that means that you're not able to do the things that you want to do to see if you can do them. If that doesn't make sense, what I mean by that is there's things that I work on outside of my camps. But then I've got to be in shape to hit those while I'm in fight camp. If I want to hit like a new leg scissor takedown, if I want to hit a new snatch single to a flare, to a reverse dump, to anything, like I want to bounce you off the cage, lift and scoop. I can't do any of that if I'm not in shape and it's the second or third round and I'm gasping for air. I just automatically resort back to what I know I can get away with, whether that's like getting the takedown and just laying on top of you, whether that's like foot sweeping you and getting to the top position, or just circling and staying away, snapping a jab, all of those things, or just pressing you to the fence and controlling you there. Those are all things that I'll revert back to, knowing that because I'm not in good enough shape, I'm just going to use what works, not use what I feel like there's new things that I want to develop. And so that's kind of where I see with Patty. He gets so big in between his fights that he is not getting any better. He's the same jiu-jitsu guy. He's the same stand-up guy. Sure, he's a fighter. There's no doubt about it. He's a gamer. He's a fighter. All of those things that make you a fighter. He is him. He has him. He has him in him. There's no doubt. But he's not getting better. And these other guys, they're constantly at home. That's why the Nurmagomedovs are so damn good. They're not out drinking. They're not out stuffing their faces. I mean, sure, they're eating a little tiramisu and having some Pepsis and Cokes and whatever it is, but they're not out drinking. They're not out partying. They're not out chasing ladies. They're not out doing any of that shit. They're really just focusing on their craft. You can't say the same for these other fighters. You definitely can't say the same for Paddy Pimblett. He is focused on, as soon as his fight's done, he gets his check and he goes out and he's enjoying himself, which he should. But in that process, you got to be in the gym constantly getting better. You got to be working on new techniques, whether that's grappling, whether that's footwork, in your boxing, whether that's different styles of setting up your kicks, all of those things, whether that's your takedown defense. I mean, I saw in his last fight, his takedown defense was horrible. And he had no answer for when he got taken down on what to do other than try to out-muscle him. And when he wasn't able to do it, it just didn't look good. He had that look on his face of fatigue. And a lot of that can be from him cutting too much weight. And in the process of cutting too much weight, it looks bad in the cage, which I'm surprised. And I think everyone walked away from that last fight believing that he lost. And so he has a lot to prove coming in this fight. If he is to fight Drew Dober, which I think might be a little bit too much for him. I like the fight. I think it'll be a fun fight. I think it's a little bit too much for him right now.
100% agree.